So my guest today is Chloe King. She's someone who has found her freedom in the ocean, going from being involved in marketing to launching her own scuba diving center. And I've had the privilege of diving with her on a number of occasions. So I'm excited to explore the journey that she's been on, the chains that she's broken through to find her passion, her purpose, the thing that she loves doing the most. Chloe, thank you for joining me on this episode. Interesting starting point there. You know, we've just mentioned it off air. Going from marketing to scuba diving. Talk me through that journey. What was that for you? What is it that you had to go through?
Oh, well, firstly, thank you so much for having me on your show. This is really exciting. So basically, just to give you a bit of a rundown, I studied marketing at university. I did that in Brighton, and I stayed in Brighton for the next 10 years. And I was part of a marketing department in a few companies in Brighton. And 10 years down the line, I did feel kind of like I was a bit of a robot. I didn't feel like I had a purpose. I did love marketing, and I still do love marketing. But I didn't feel like I was doing it for something that I believed in. And I think that really kind of, well, it kind of stressed me mentally, to be honest. And long story short, boyfriend broke up with me. I lost my job. A few other things happened, and I decided I've always wanted to be a scuba diving instructor since I was like 10 years old. At that point in time, I was a rescue diver, and I was talking to someone, and they were saying they were in Bali, they were doing digital marketing, but they were also scuba diving. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is literally the life like that I want. So what I did was I moved to Dubai. I moved there because my parents live here. So it was an easy option. I didn't, I was going to run low on money and everything. So I went to Dubai. I approached the diving center. I said, look, can I do a dive master internship with you? And they were like, yes, of course. They were very welcoming. And I stayed with them for 2 months doing the dive master. I then always wanted to go traveling and go diving and live the best life. So I went to Koh Tao in Thailand, and I did my instructor course there, which is quite it's renowned for diving and learning. So went there, did the instructor course, and for about a month, and then COVID was just about to happen, and I went back to Dubai. Luckily, I think we caught like one of the last flights, to be honest. And that week, everything just shut down. Everything, how it was here, we couldn't go out at all. And so I was, obviously I was a point in my life where I was very much in limbo. I was like, should I go back to marketing? Should I do scuba diving? Obviously, like when you hear, when you meet other instructors and you ask, oh, should I make the move? And they're just like, look, there's literally no money in it. And there isn't any money in it. I can tell everyone for that. So you're just doing it for lifestyle. But so I was thinking, okay, I'll maybe go back into marketing. I was doing like my expertise is event marketing, B2B event marketing. And with COVID happening, everything just stopped anyway. So to be honest, the job market wasn't looking great. And I took that as a bit of a sign, really, like maybe this isn't something that I'm meant to be doing. And so I decided to look into starting up my own company in scuba diving. And I did the numbers. There wasn't many numbers, but they were there. And so so I got the license, which was exciting. And then since then, I just used my marketing knowledge to kind of grow that business. But it was more than that, the reason. I mean, I love the ocean. I've seen what's happening to the ocean firsthand. I've seen marine debris. I'm picking up marine debris as I'm going along. I've seen coral bleaching, the loss of biodiversity in the ocean. So when you're witnessing this firsthand, there's something that like said to me, like, I need to do something about this. I'm not a marine biologist. It's something that I'm definitely interested in, and I'm pursuing as well. But just educating other people to learn to dive and seeing it for themselves, I think really helps people understand how precious it is. And so yeah, I'm really glad that one thing led to the other, and this came about to opening up my own dive school.
Nice. I mean, it's exciting. I've been diving with you on a couple of occasions, and to see your passion for it, how you have built the community that you've got around your business and the dive center. But yeah, interesting journey there. That I guess being in limbo as well with the COVID lockdowns, and it's like, okay, well, actually, what do I do? What is the right path for me? Okay, events will probably come back at some point, but you made the decision to focus on the scuba side, and you've now obviously been able to use your expertise to grow that. So amazing work there. One of the things I want to touch on while we're here today, fear. So you mentioned you were already a rescue diver, and you then went to sort of Thailand. You took your course to be an instructor. How do you support your students in overcoming fear when it comes to being underwater, knowing that, you know, as you go further down, the depth increases, the pressure increases, the things to look out for, the different situations, you know, night dives versus, you know, day dives, boat dives versus shore dives, rolling off backwards, jumping in, you know, all of those sorts of things that people potentially have a fear of, largely because it's unknown if they haven't done it before. How do you work with them to sort of break through that fear in the context of learning to dive?
So yeah, it's definitely scary, scuba diving, especially you know, the young ones they have no fear. They will just go and do it. It's the older ones. And yeah, it's I guess you have to tell them it's normal to feel that way. It's, you know, tell them that they can accept those emotions, and that they can you know, it's okay to feel that way, because it is, and it is scary. You're literally putting a tank on, you're going underwater. We're not meant to be breathing underwater. We're land animals. So it's just taking it step by step, and that's what's great about PADI and the way they teach you. It's very, you know, you're not taking like you're not taking a massive step, you're just taking small ones. So for example, we always start off in the swimming pool whenever I'm teaching people to dive, and it's letting them just not even go under at first, but just letting them breathe through the regulator, just really slowly, and also just being very mindful of your breath and listening to your breathing. It's very meditative once you get into that feeling of like, okay, I'm just listening to my breath, it's fine. You can see the gauge is not moving to zero. Like, it's just really taking it slowly, step by step. And once they feel confident, and you can see it in someone's eyes generally, whether they feel okay with it, you can then take them on to the next step. Again, you know, taking the regulator out, putting it back in again. If I see any signs of nervousness, I make them do it again and again and again and again until they're not even thinking about it anymore. They're just taking it out, putting it in, whatever. So it's just practice and practice, but slowly. And yeah, it's always going to be a bit scary facing your fears. It's yeah, I don't know, just do it. I know it's easier said than done, but it is the unknown. And once you've done it once, it does become a lot easier the next time around and the next time around. I think you've also maybe, you know, if you're a stat person, like look at stats, like how many people have died from it. Definitely not many recreational divers. If anything, it's the very, very advanced technical divers that, you know, get too overconfident. You know, a lot of people say, oh, they're scared of sharks, and you know, you show them statistics on sharks. There's barely any shark attacks. If there are, they're very like freak incidences. Yeah. And there's lots of videos where, you know, there's loads of people swimming with sharks very happily. So it's just finding what their fear is and then trying to combat that. With like the night dives, for example. To be honest, sometimes I actually see more at night because of the torches than I do in the daytime. But just because, like, you don't know what the visibility during the day is going to be like. If it is really bad, you can't actually see that well compared to at night when you've got a torch on. Again, you also can see your buddies a lot easier because they've all got torches and they're all shining, so you can all see each other very well. So yeah, it's just finding out like what their fear is, why their fear is that, and just saying, okay, like what can we do to combat that?
Yeah, I think it's great to hear that, because the way that I position it is it's a picture we paint in our heads of something that might happen. Okay, so if we can understand what that picture is, okay, you know, you're using stats to try and dispel that and say, well, okay, you created that picture, but is it likely to happen? The stats say no. Okay, so again, that's one way of trying to help them move through that fear. It's also interesting you mentioned that Paddy has that structure to take people through. And I guess there's you know, a mirror element there. You know, one of the things when I have conversations, I talk about, and this is largely because of my video game background, it's like slay the biggest dragon last. Okay, because there may be things that you need to do before that. You need to get your armor, you may need to get your weapons, you may need to, you know, learn some magic spells, whatever it may be, before you can do that. So I think that Paddy process as well of building up step by step, going through and go, okay, feel comfortable in the water first. Now let's try, you know, doing the breathing. We've got all the equipment on. Okay, now let's try in and out with the regulate. Okay, right. And just that building up process, I think that helps people become more comfortable, but also feel like they're making progress, so that actually when it comes time to make that, you know what, you said this was your fear point, but you know, how comfortable do you now feel because you've gone through everything else to build up to this? And a lot of the time they're like, yeah, okay, actually it doesn't feel that scary now. Okay, I've still created an image, but I now feel more confident of dealing with general situations. Okay, let's progress. Let's take that next step.
It's taking that big fear and then breaking it down into smaller bits and seeing how we can, you know, with something like a course or something like that, even if I've got like a big project on or something and that feels really overwhelming, you know, just start with the first thing you need to do, and you know, once you've done that, you can move on to the next thing, but just break it down to smaller tasks instead of one mammoth task.
So your diving qualifications obviously mean you can go and dive anywhere in the world. So you've experienced a couple of different places, but you set your center up in Dubai. So your view of freedom, do you feel you've now achieved that because you've got the business, you've got, you know, potentially some time freedom, even if there's not a lot of money in being an instructor and being involved in scuba, or do you still feel that there's a draw to go and experience and travel? What does freedom look like for you, and are you in that position now where you feel you've achieved it?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm getting there, definitely getting there. I mean, at the end of the day, like when I first started, I could choose the times of when I wanted to do courses, and if I wanted to do a gym class in the morning and then a dive in the afternoon, or vice versa, I could do that, and I didn't have to like go to anyone and say, can I go to the doctors or anything like that? Like, so yeah, in that respect, definitely free, but also I guess you do have to be quite structured owning a business as well, because if you don't have that structure, you're not really gonna well, you may not get anywhere. So you do need to put a lot of time into it as well. I've just hired my first dive master. She's now an assistant instructor, actually. So she has helped me a lot, especially with the diving. Going diving every day, it just exhausts your body, and the last thing you want to do is some admin tasks. So now I've got a bit more free time to do a bit more admin, do the marine conservation stuff, which I'm most passionate about, and she can lead more the dives and do lots of refresher courses and stuff. So it's definitely helped a lot. And now I've seen this, it's like, okay, maybe it's worth getting someone else as well. Yep. And just so that I do have, can concentrate more on other tasks. But yeah, it definitely, I have a lot more freedom than I would be in a corporate office or anything like that. And I just love it. I love having that freedom to do what I want when I want, and not if I'm 10 minutes late into work, someone's not going to be yelling down my throat or something. So yeah, that's it.
Nice. Yeah, I think being able to get support or lean on other people as well, so that the way you use your time is on the things that matter most to you. Because I guess that's one of the challenges, if you're in a corporate job, or you may have your own business, it's sometimes there are the things that can just be, yes, I need to do them because it's a requirement for the business, but it's such a drain on you in terms of time and energy. So if you can find those people to complement you, it can actually free you up in terms of headspace and the time to say, right, actually, yes, what is it that I want to focus on? How am I using my time? What's going to make me feel good and fulfilled? So for you, it sounds like the conservation stuff and everything that goes with that. So being able to spend more time on that will probably make you feel a lot better in the long term. Definitely. So yeah, how can you put those support structures in place?
Projects on the company as well, and the customers, when we're all kind of doing what we what we're happy doing task wise. But yeah, also, I mean, Sarah's so bubbly, so friendly, my dive master, and she's just perfect for the job. So really lucky to have her on board.
Was she working somewhere else before then? I'm just interested to explore that, because I guess there's a side question in relation to freedom.
I went on like one of the Facebook girls in Dubai or something like that, and I just asked if anyone wants to do a dive master internship in exchange for helping me out, and then I get a message by Sarah, and she's so excited about this. She's like, I'm gonna come meet you in the office like right now. Anyway, she comes along, and just so positive, so bubbly, lovely, and she's a DJ, so By night she's DJing, by day she's diving. So it's
okay. So interesting, because I guess that's an element of freedom for her as well, then, in terms of managing her time, the activities that she wants to
and
do.
that's what we both say to each other. Actually, we both say the reason why we love working with each other is because of that freedom, is that we know, like, when we, when she needs to do something, she doesn't need to ask, she can just go and do it. Obviously, we know when to prioritize our job and where we need to be at what time and etc. But at the same time, like, we can go off and have a coffee with a friend or something at lunch and whatever. Yeah, so it's it's really nice to have someone on board. And also, just as a soundboard, it was quite lonely just being by myself. Obviously I've got some great support behind me. I've got my parents, I've got my husband, and that's fantastic. And definitely, it's good to have that. But you also, you do get lonely, because you're, at the end of the day, they've got their own jobs and things going on. So you are, all the crazy ideas you have, you kind of just want a soundboard to say, is that a crazy idea, or is that a good idea? So yeah, it's really nice to have Sarah.
And so what does the next couple of years look like for you in terms of, your dreams and your visions? Is it to grow the center? Is it to stay quite small and sort of boutiquey so that you keep your time? Have you thought about any of that yet?
Oh, good question. I don't know. I mean, I think at the moment, it's great as how it's going. I think it'll just be organic growth, to be honest. I'm not looking to have like any investors or anything like that. So I guess it will be kept quite boutique. Not saying that we won't like branch out to some of the other Emirates. We may do in the next 2 years or whatever. But yeah, it's I really want to get more involved in marine conservation, internships. I know, like, I've had 2 people from the UK come over doing internships, and I've taken them on like dolphin surveys, and we've done marine debris cleanups, and visited the mangroves. So it's just doing like little projects like that, which I love. Yeah, so we're also working with a few corporates as well. So we've got COP28 coming up, and a lot of companies are really interested in getting involved more in their CSR activities. And so ocean is a hot topic here. Obviously, most offices probably overlooks the sea. So it's working with them on team building events and marine debris cleanups and all sorts of things like that. So that's like one of the areas as well, not just the teaching.
I see. I guess there's multiple different bits there that you can, I guess, split your time and focus between to give you that variety as well. Because one of the things that a lot of people is, like you mentioned it at the start, just felt like the same thing all of the time. Whereas it sounds like now you've created that space for yourself where it's like, actually, you know what? Oh, there's a different opportunity here. Yeah, let's go and explore that, or let's ensure that there's 3 or 4 different things that the business is involved with to I guess give that variety.
Exactly. Yeah, you're taking the lead and just saying, okay, let's try this, and if it doesn't work out, move on to the next crazy idea I've got.
Yeah, I've been in that situation. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't work so well. But that's life. It's a learning opportunity. So a couple of final thoughts and opportunities then. You found your freedom. What would be your biggest piece of advice to someone who currently feels stuck or frustrated in the world that they operate in, how their life is shaping up? What would you say to them?
Yeah, it's difficult because I I mean, and initially I was kind of pushed into it. But then I guess it was my thoughts on doing this and starting this. I could just go back to a corporate job if I wanted to. I would speak to your network, and just get as much advice as possible from what you're looking to do, and also look at your support network as well, because I don't know if I could have done this like without having such good support around me. So obviously, yeah, support, and sometimes you're just going to have really, really bad days, and and you've just got to really mentally push yourself through it. Writing, journaling, I find really helps me, just putting all my thoughts down in one place, and all of a sudden all my fears are like gone. Unless like, oh, when I read it back to myself, I'm like, that sounds so stupid. So just
sorry, I want to pick up on that, because I watched a video the other night. It was Dean Graziosi talking to Matthew McConaughey, the actor, and he talks about his journaling experience in exactly the same way, and the fact that it enables you to, some people just do the basics and it's like, okay, what am I grateful for today? Other people go deeper and just put absolutely everything down, the thoughts and ideas.
Yeah, sometimes I'm like, I'm going to be really ungrateful. This is my ungrateful journey.
Yeah, but enables you to then look back at it and go, oh, actually, well, that's not, it's not an issue. It's not a fear.
Yeah.
Okay, it's an opportunity, whatever it may be. Sometimes getting it out of your head and onto paper can give you that clarity and enable you to take a step away from it. So it's really interesting to hear you say that.
Yeah. I mean, there's always like, a bad week or something, or a bad day. But yeah, just write, and just doing a small thing like, okay, maybe you're not having a good day, but just write one email to a person, just pick up the phone and call someone. You just never know what those conversations are going to start, and network. I think that's the key thing as well, actually. Like, just go out, meet people, talk to people in that industry, in that space, and you'll just get invited to opportunities that you probably wouldn't have thought possible. I like, for example, like I just started a podcast, and it's a great way to meet people as well through podcasting. And through that podcast, he invited me on the dolphin surveys, and that's how I got involved in that. And I was involved in marine conservation NGO. So just get yourself into little like communities, and people will start like knowing about you, and then eventually people will start asking you the questions that you were asking someone else before. Just do it.
just do it. Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes it's all just down to the actions that we take. We have to get out of our heads and be like, you know what, there's something I want to do here. What are those first steps? How can I build? We spoke about it, those building blocks, those steps that you can take one by one, and it's just get started, take that first step.
I mean, a lot of it, I think also money is quite a big factor, because everyone's like, oh, I don't know if I can do this, blah blah blah. Just try and make that 50 dirhams or something that day, or just something, and then you can get going again. I don't know, it's difficult, it's not easy, but I think as long as you're keen and you're passionate and you want to do it, then you can make it happen.
Perfect. And how can people learn more about you? How can they find you if they want to understand more about the conservation work that you're doing, and dive activities, things like that? And you mentioned you've got a podcast as well, so how can people find you?
Okay, so my website is we'll put it in the show notes, I guess. So chloebluescubadiving.com. I'm very active on Instagram, which is Chloe Blue Divers. Myself and another co-host, Elaine, we've got Ocean Sisters UAE, and I'm trying to start TikTok, to be honest. My mind for TikTok is not there yet. might have to get a Gen Z to help me with this. So yeah, but yeah, lots of ways to contact me.
Perfect. Thank you. I appreciate you joining me today for this
Yeah, thank you
episode and
so much. It's been really good.
hearing your story, going from that corporate world to scuba diving and being, 30 meters deep and swimming with the fishes,
Yeah.
a very different experience there. So I appreciate
Yeah.
you taking the time to share it.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.